Prize giving's also going to be live streamed.
The sound of thunder down under. My seat is vibrating. First car out, Hugh Gardner, car number 15 in that new Timaru. Got a new set of tyres on by the looks of it after his big spin. His new set of stickers going on there. So these guys had some pretty good close racing all weekend. Just that one bit of panel damage there with Angus Fogg, and I think it was Pete Templeton, wasn't it? Sorry, with Andrew Turner. Good to see Andrew back out there as well in car 5. Once again, the sand trap saving some major damage down at the top end of the track. They do have airbags across the back there, John Jones as well, the big white line of airbags. And that has saved a lot of damage to cars over the time that that's been there. A big lot of airbags. So a grid start for the Central Muscle cars, a 10-lap race. So it's a long race for them. It's another 2 laps longer than the 3 races previous. Make sure they put plenty of juice in the big girls. So any of these cars, I know Foggy's going up to Scope next weekend. Any of more of the Central Muscle cars guys staying for the Scope next weekend?
I think it's only Foggy really. He's getting the Mini back out of the shed, I think, as well, racing that. And he's got a Lazetta or something like that he's racing, I think. So, yeah, he's sort of staying down here for a month. So flying back home and then coming back down. So, yeah, be good to see him there. I don't know which class he's racing in with the Mustang, but I don't know if a lot of the other Central guys are racing down here at Scope this year.
Righto, so the front row looks like it's going to be Angus Fogg and Hugh Gardner. So she's going to be a great drag off the line. Fast guys out in front. Dean Perkins, Brendan Mason tucked in the second row there. Tristan Teki in that number 27, the Batmobile. That's one good looking car, that one. I bet she's had a few photographs taken of that this weekend, Tristan Teki's car. Good to see Hansen back out there too after doing some Watts linkage damage earlier on. They've been welding underneath. And just look at the side of that, Central Muscle cars. Thunder down under here, waiting on a start here at Levels, and we're off. A good start, a bit slow start there from Tristan Teki. Forced Clark Hopkins to try and run around the outside, but it's going to be Hugh Gardner leads them through Parenco first time from Foggy. Then we go back to Perkins on the run up to Castrol, and it's Hugh Gardner leads out in front onto the back straight from Foggy as they put the pedal down to the metal and wind these big beasts up down the back straight. Mason's gone as well up to 4th. Hansen 5th, then Steve Ross 6th. Down to the braking zone. A big brakes in these things to try and stop all the weight of them. What's the average sort of weight these things run, Ian? They'd be sort of 1.5, 2 tonne?
They've got to be over 1,400 kgs. So, and then the heaviest one used to be Cam Crawford's car, which is about 1,700 kgs. So that was with the driver as well. So, yeah, but that's not running here at the moment. But anywhere in that range, and the Commodores, because it's hard to put weight in the cars themselves, and they're normally down on a little bit more power than the faster guys, what they normally do is they've got 50 kgs less that they have to run.
So Gardner still leads down through Power & Co. Foggy chasing hard there in second. Perkins still hanging on to that third from Mason. Then Hanson, Steve Ross, Tristan Teki. Foggy now trying to go with Gardner down the back straight. He got a good run out of Castrol. Down towards John Jones Steele. Still a couple of car lengths between them. Gardner's still in front. Foggy's going to give him jib the whole way as they head up towards McKissick Curve. Fastest time of the race, a 107.3 to Hugh Gardner. A long way off the lap record, a 104.8 from Angus Fogg for the Central Muscle cars. Into the Carter's valuation hairpin. Still Gardner. Fogg all over the back of him, bit of a gap to Perkins. Then Mason, bit of a gap back to Hanson. Down through the kink. Sits pretty good, that big Timaru Hugh Gardner. Been looked after this weekend by Peter Sprague on the tools. And Foggy's still trying hard. He's going to try and force Hugh Gardner into a mistake as Clark Hopkins goes down the inside there of car number 168, Shane Holland. So that's up another spot for him. So what sort of speeds will they be hitting at the end of the back straight here, Ian? About 130 miles an hour? Pretty close to
probably
it.
130 mile an hour, 280 k's, probably something like that. Yeah, they're up there.
Paul Bowden just making a move there on Michael Eden. Trying to go up the inside, but the wee Ferenz is pretty good in the under brakes. And we'll ride that outside line through John Jones Steele. Hangs on to that position. Still Hugh Gardner out in front. Just 7 laps to go this time for Hugh Gardner, so a long way left in the race for him to go. Foggy will know this. He'll just be hanging in, biding his time. And obviously wanted to score some points as well, Angus Fogg. Around through Castrol they go. Let's see who gets the best drive onto the back straight now. Foggy, a wee bit twitchy there as he tries to straighten the thing up. But that thing of Hugh Gardner's is equally as quick. Dean Perkins looking pretty racy too, but he's just back enough that he can't force a move. Looks to me like Foggy's a wee bit quicker up the top end there, but just can't get around that big Camaro of Hugh Gardner's. Rest of them wind down the back straight. Andrew Sinclair in the big 148 car. Here goes Paul Bowden again, trying to get up the inside of Michael Eden. But she's a pretty quick wee Forenza Can-Am car, that one. Back to the front, through the kink, Hugh Gardner kicks up a wee bit of dirt as he comes through to reel off another one. Still Foggy chasing hard, so's Perkins. He's only a couple of seconds back, Dean Perkins. And Mason doing a great job in that new car. Dex Grant Dalton, number 135. Dean Henson's out all on his own, and Tristan Teki's all over the back of Steve Ross. So good battles all throughout the field. Tony Boyden out on his own though. Same as Bruce Kett. So a great sight, these V8s here at Levels. Surely humming a straight line. So waiting on the race leaders to come back in. Still Angus Fogg all over the back of Hugh Gardner. Out of the Carter's valuation hairpin. Through the left-hand sweeper. Let's see what Foggy can do this time. Through the king onto the front straight. He's not close enough this time. 5 laps to go for Angus Fogg to try and make something happen. Dean Perkins getting out of shape there as he gets halfway through Power & Co. Has to slide it up onto the curve. Tristan Teki still all over the back of Steve Ross and the Commodore. Clark Hopkins trying to find a way through. Well, it looks like Angus was having a look up the inside there as they disappeared out of sight. So we'll see how that goes. Tiki up the inside there of Steve Ross, but Ross has got that outside line going into John Jones Steele. Still though, Hugh Gardner hangs on. All the pressure in the world on Angus Fogg. He'll be using all his experience to try and get through. Hugh Gardner's an experienced peddler though. Driven all sorts of cars, Porsches and Minis and you name it. 4 laps to go there for Hugh Gardner. Up to Castrol, just holding that 1 or 2 car length advantage, Hugh Gardner. Down the back straight once again, just pulls out 2 or 3 car lengths as Dean Perkins gets all out of shape from 3rd position. Steve Ross still doing a good job keeping Teki and Hopkins behind. Car number 168 in on the act there as well. Shane Holland. So Hopkins getting close to Teki, but just not close enough to poke the Tirana up the inside. Leaders out of the hairpin, still Hugh Gardner. He's led from start, right from the start so far. 3 laps to go for him. So starting to run out of time, Angus Fogg. Hugh Gardner not bowing to any pressure whatsoever. And in fact, they've got a 5-second lead, the 2 of them, back to Dean Perkins. And a couple of seconds back to Mason. And then she's a huge gap back to Hansen, who comes through, a 10-second gap in fact, back to Hansen. And then this battle group still continuing as we see Hopkins have a dive up the inside of Tristan Teki. Don't hit the thing, just as well they stayed off the wall, stayed off one another. Tristan Teki seen him coming, but a great passing move from Clark Hopkins. Goes up the inside into Parenco. Oh, we've got problems here for Tony Boyden. He's pulling off down the front straight. And looks like he's going to stop right there. That's going to be a bit of a pain of a position. The marshal's trying to wave him forward, but he's not going to go. So they're going to have double wave yellows down here as the leaders come through the kink onto the front straight. 2 to go now for Hugh Gardner. And that could well be the end of it. As Tony Boyden stopped down the front straight here. Yeah, they've pulled a quad out onto the track. Try and get him out of the way as quickly as possible. Dean Hansen comes through. Luckily there's a big enough gap there for the guy on the quad. They're going to get Tony Boyden out of the way pretty quick, which is good from the marshals. Still be double wave yellows as Bruce Kett comes through in the big Cambridge Camaro. And just like that, they've got Tony Boyden out of the way. That's great work from the marshals. So as the leaders come round, it'll be last lap board this time for Hugh Gardner. So we have to keep an eye on Angus Fogg, see what he can do this lap. Closes right up under brakes through Parenco. Just a half a car length between them. He'll try and get a good run up through the Castrol. He'll short shift halfway through there, Angus Fogg, try and get the power down. But you can see Hugh Gardner's car's just got a little bit more there, torque there as they get the power down. Coming up on some lap traffic though. Steve Ross still managing to keep these cars tucked in behind him. Hopkins, Teki and Holland. So a bit of lap traffic coming up for the leaders. As we see Gardner coming up in behind lap traffic. He gets out of the way, which is good. Got the Forenza Can-Am car up in front. Michael Eden. Hopefully he's going to stay out of the way as these two come through. Fogg's going to have a run at them as they come down to the line, but it's going to be Gardner takes the race win from Angus Fogg. Great stuff from those two. Long way back to Dean Perkins. He gets good points in the bag. Gets it all crossed up coming down the front straight. And then a Bruce Mason finishing 4th, Brendan Mason rather. So that's great stuff from them. Just keep your eyes on Wayne Perkins, here we go, sending her sideways round through Castrol. Putting on a good show for the crowd over there. Steve Ross wins the battle of that next group. Keeps Hopkins and Teki and Holland behind. And then she's a long way back to Bruce Kett and Andrew Turner. Steve Neuer, car 167. Then Bowden and Andrew Sinclair and that big Plymouth. So that's great stuff from the Central Muscle cars. Give them a big round of applause as they come round, ladies and gentlemen. Hugh Gardner, Angus Fogg and all the crew. Put on a great show here all weekend. Minimal damage. Thank you very much, Ian. Great to have the Central Muscle cars here again. We had them here a couple of years ago. Hopefully we have you back here very shortly, because it's certainly a great spectacle for the crowd here.
Yeah, every 2 years we get away from home base and that sort of thing, so it's good to come down here. This is sort of where I used to live, grew up down here, so and it's good to see the crowd out here, you know, and also down in the pits going through the cars and having a look at them and that, all that sort of thing, pick up some posters and all that. It's good to see, and good to be here.
Thanks very much, and pass on our thanks to all the team down there that are behind these Central Muscle cars.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, if you could also put your hands together for all our flaggies and marshals today as they come in. They've done a great job today out in that hot sun, but for their own safety, as we mentioned earlier, we do bring them in while the trucks are out playing on the track.
Yeah, they do a great job there.